Coincidences. It all started with this album. The photos bring back so many memories of my sister and I visiting Uncle Fred and Aunt Jane in Derbyshire. Uncle Fred was a train driver who lived beside the railway lines, with plenty of fields and woods close by, where we had great fun playing. The next coincidence was a football match. The telly was on, and before I could turn it off, the word Buxton hit me. The second round of the Emirates FA Cup was being played. I couldn't believe it. Buxton versus Morecambe, bringing back more memories of Uncle Fred, who was an avid fan of Buxton Football Club. In fact, he used to coach football to the youngsters in the area. Then, believe it or not, the railway children came on the telly, which got me thinking of Uncle Fred driving his train on the Buxton line, which closed in 1968. As children, we didn't realise how upset Uncle Fred was about the closure. He got very depressed, so it stopped our yearly visits to see him. I also learnt that he only had 2 more years to go before he was to get his long service award and gold watch. A few years later, Mum and Dad got a letter from Aunt Jane, which was so sad it made Mum cry. But it also had some good news. More about that later. All these thoughts got me thinking. I made up my mind to revisit the old railway track, which is now a 13-mile trail for walkers and cyclists, called the Monsal Trail. I hope I will not be disappointed going down memory lane. I started at Cheadle and soon got to the first bridge. I think there are about 12 of them, and there's 6 tunnels. The first 3 are quite close to each other and fairly short. The others being much longer. Fortunately, lighting has been installed in the longer tunnels. I wonder what Uncle Fred would think, seeing me go down the old line, through the sooty tunnels, with the occasional drips of water falling on my head. Certainly a bit different to his old steam train. He would be pleased to see the line being used, even without his precious trains, especially the Absal area. Wish we, as children, could have done that. It looks very exciting. He had driven both steam and diesel trains and had great fun tooting his horn. He would often stop on the huge headstone viaduct so that passengers could see the views. I don't know how he got away with it, but it was different back then. He even stopped right outside his house, and his sister, my Aunt Jane, used to pass him his lunch. As I go down this trail, I'm remembering the areas where we played, the woods and the fields under the viaduct. Before, when we were allowed on the train, we saw the tunnels in a completely different way. I now realise all the work that must have gone into the building of the line over 100 years ago. The tunnels are absolutely fantastic. A wonderful bit of engineering. As I mentioned earlier, when the train line closed, Uncle Fred became a changed man. He didn't get another job and never married. He always said we were his favourite nieces, and he continued to send us Christmas cards and presents, which I now suspect came from Aunt Jane. The day the letter arrived was the day I got my first job. By then it had been 5 years since he left the railway. Aunt Jane informed us that Fred had died in his sleep, with his dog faithfully sitting by his side. He was only 68. However, she said that she had been campaigning with the union to get Fred's long service award and a gold watch, which was finally put into Fred's hands a few weeks before he died, making him a very happy man. I was so pleased. He deserved it, but sad to know that I would no longer be able to share laughter with him again. Well, I have come to the end of the trail, but there is one last thing to do. I have this time capsule with some old photos, badges and memorabilia, but where to bury it? That's the question. Well, I have 13 miles to think about it on my return journey.